Well, in our last interview, the one clip that did the best, it's almost 1 million views, is when you said that Michael Smith turned you down for a date to play Madden.
That's funny. But I did think I was like, oh, he's a cool guy or whatever. I was like, I've never been to Boston. We should exchange information. So we exchanged information. I called him and I was just like, what's there to do around here? Like, yeah, let's like go out and hang. And he's like, I don't really hang out much. I just kind of go to work. And so he's not picking up on any signal. I'm like, dude, just ask me out so we could like go out and hang and I could, maybe get to know you a little better. And then he told me that he was busy that night because he was playing Madden and he had just put the Cardinals on franchise mode.
Okay.
And that's why I was like, now see, God is he's working a wonder in my life. This is not an avenue to be pursued at all. So that
he chose Madden over you.
He chose Madden. It's true. He chose Madden in terms of instead of hanging out with me. So
okay. Did Michael reach out to you after the interview aired?
No, well, it's a story Mike and I have told 1,000 times.
Oh, okay.
I mean, and look, we both of us put a little bit more sauce on it than needs to be, right? He's happily married. I'm happily married. When we met, I don't know if he met his wife yet or not. He may have. I'm not sure. I feel like he hadn't met her yet. It was just always funny to us that the origination, I guess, of us meeting was that people thinking that we needed to be a couple.
Well, speaking of video games, John Salley, who I guess is cool with you as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
He's spoken highly of you. It kind of started with a conversation based on the Chuck D interview, where Chuck D felt that MTV extended the teenage years to 35. That before MTV, when you turned 18, you were expected to go buy a house, get a job, possibly get married. You're an adult, you're a man, or you're a woman. You're no longer a child. But once MTV came out and all this kind of happened, the laws, I mean, not the laws, but the perceptions kind of changed.
So we're in a different place and OGs have a responsibility to be in their lane. And I feel that as an OG, be ready to counsel, be ready to advise. Don't always think that you got to lead. I think we're in a country and a nation and a hemisphere that does not encourage younger adults to take leadership. MTV and Viacom, I blame them for years for extending teenage years to 35.
And John Salley took it one step further. He felt that video games are the main reason why you have 40-year-old, quote unquote, boys who still live with their mothers and play video games all day and don't really take this level of responsibility.
The most important thing is what Chuck was saying is it extended, it made boys. It made boys at 40 years old, boys at 30 years old. And you're caught in this crazy world. I think video games did the same thing, man. You can sit around, I can't move my thumbs like that. Like I didn't get into the video game world.
Do you agree or disagree with that?
Oh, I disagree with that. I mean, I think it's a little bit more complicated. You do see people living at home longer now or not as independent as I think my generation remembers. Like when I turned 15, I went to get my driver's permit, right?
Yeah, me too.
Right away. Turned 16, immediately went to get my license. And I commonly run into young people who are like 20, 21 and don't even have their driver's license, which I'm astounded at, right? But they also have Uber and Lyft, which I didn't have. Like the only way you were getting around, if you were even lucky enough to have access to a car, was if you had to go and get your license. And I think we were raised by a generation of parents who believed that at 18, you had to do something. Go to school to get a job. You definitely getting out the house.
Yeah.
The next generation of parents, which I guess would be sort of my generation loosely, they're just not as vigilant as that. And there's also the fact that it's much more expensive to live now than it was then.
Yeah, houses are a lot more expensive
than
when my parents bought a house. Yeah.
Houses are more expensive. College debt has people staying at home longer.
True.
And look, while I wouldn't even pretend that if I were single, I would want to date somebody who played video games, but it's a much different relationship for me than it is for a woman that's younger than me. First of all, you can make a living playing video games now. that didn't exist.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's the reason why you have older, you have 35, 40-year-olds still playing video games, but video games are like way cooler than they've ever been. So I can understand being attached to them longer. But just because you play video games, that doesn't mean that you're somehow unable to balance being a productive citizen. Like a lot of the guys that I know who still play video games, they're professionals. Like they have jobs, they have 9 to 5s, they go to work, they make money. But when they come home, they have this awesome video game chair and, they like to play. They're like Steve Carell in 40-Year-Old Virgin. Steve Carell had a job, okay? He had a job.
Yeah, a retail job.
Right, he
Best
had a retail
Buy,
job.
but,
Yeah, but he was working, just saying. But I just think in general, to some degree, the young people, in this way, they definitely differ from us. I don't think they're as in a hurry to be adults and to live in this real world scenario. I mean, we sort of were rushing to be adults and rushing to have our license and get our own place and do all those things. And I don't think they feel the same impetus to do it.
That's too bad. That's too bad.
It is.
Because I moved out at 18 and I never went back.
I was like, I moved out at 17. I
Yeah.
mean, that's because my birthday wasn't until December. So I didn't turn 18 until my freshman year in college.
Mhm.
When I left for college and never came back.
Yeah.
Right? Like going back wasn't an option.
Yep.
But I do think the approach to parenting was a lot different too. It's like the generation of parents that I grew up with and my mother's friends and they were the same. They made you want to leave the house because they were so strict on you and you had to live by their rules. They wanted you to be sick of that shit so that when you turn 17 or 18, you would leave. Parents today, they are a little softer, they don't, I see some of my friends and how they are with their kids and I'm astounded at what they can get away with. And, that's because I think there's just a different relationship. It's a different generation.